Welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week we will discuss tools, tips, and ways to radiate your best life ever, interviewing practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate? Hi, and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today, we've got something really unusual and fun. Today, I am visited by Alfonso Colasuonno. Did I get that right?
Close enough. I've only had one person get it right perfectly on the first try. It's Colasuonno. So.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to Radiate Ascendency. Alfonso is the co-author of the book, The Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn. Alfonso has cultivated a lifelong passion for esoteric study, and among his earliest memories are scouring books of the unexplained at his aunt's home during family gatherings. Upon meeting Vakasha Brenman, Alfonso was able to put his passion to practical use in their joint creation of the Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn. Alfonso was born and raised in Brooklyn, but now calls Baltimore his home. In his spare time, Alfonso practices Reiki. Yay, Reiki! I'm a Reiki Master too. Being inducted into the spiritual practice by renowned Reiki Master Pamela Miles. Wow, that's a good pedigree.
Thank you.
Welcome, Alfonso. This is so fun. I've been geeking out and looking forward to talking about unicorns. You know, and I said, when your publisher got in touch with me and said, oh, here's this book about unicorns. Would you be interested? And I was like, heck yeah, I'd be interested. That sounds like so much fun, right? Okay, so let's start off with why unicorns?
So the main reason that Vakasha and I decided to write about the unicorn is simply put because it is the time for the unicorn to reemerge. I was born in 1983, and for most of my life, especially before meeting Vakasha, I was, to be honest, very ignorant about the unicorn. I didn't know too much about it. It was one of the holes in my knowledge of the esoteric. But through the years, especially the last few years, we've been seeing more and more appearances in all sorts of things. Even the unicorn being used as a term to represent rapidly growing businesses, television programs, children's toys. The unicorn is really reemerging, and it's much more than these things in pop culture. Actually, it's far more than these things in pop culture.
Well, it's not even pop culture anymore. I mean, unicorn myths has been around since the dawn of time.
Yes.
Of creation.
Dawn of time. Actually, that's one of the amazing things that we found out through our research is actually going back to the Edenic times. The unicorn was with early humanity, the first humans, in this Edenic paradise with us as our friend, and even beyond, even before humanity was but a figment in the creator's imagination. The unicorn was there. So the unicorn really is literally timeless.
Now, why, maybe this is a off-the-wall topic question, but why do we not see unicorns these days?
We may not see, or most people may not see unicorns today, but I'm sure that we all will see the unicorn very soon because the unicorn is reemerging. And it's not just in these symbolic ways that we're seeing. Even in this book here, the Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn, it's coming in a far greater way. But the unicorn is a interdimensional creature, so it kind of pops in and out as needed, basically, either by the whole of humanity or by specific individuals.
Interesting. Well, and our topic today is Radiate Ascendency. Can you tell me a bit about that and what's afoot?
Yes. So one of the most important things that the unicorn really wants to do with people, especially if you work with it if you reach out to the unicorn, is help you both on the spiritual level and also just in terms of your own hero's journey in life. When we incarnate into this life, we all have very unique challenges that we're meant to kind of try to work to overcome, and hopefully we will. And if not, we'll get other chances. But the unicorn really wants to work with you to be your best self, both in terms of the spiritual and also just in terms of whatever your unique purpose is in life. It wants to help you get there.
Interesting. Well, let's talk for a minute about where the unicorn originated.
Well, it really kind of depends on how you view things. I mean, the unicorn was there with the creator. In certain cultures, and it really varies based on culture in terms of how the unicorn's been presented over the, say, 6,000 known years of human civilization. But in the Chinese tradition, it's very interesting. The unicorn is one of the 4 sacred animals in the Chinese tradition. They call the unicorn the qilin. And the unicorn worked with the phoenix, the dragon, and the tortoise with Pangu, the creator, to really just build, to chip away at the formless void and create everything. So if you view it from that lens, the unicorn has been timeless. But in terms of known human civilization, the earliest civilizations, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Chinese, so definitely 6,000 years, the unicorn's been with us in recorded history and myth.
Wow. And so even in the earliest depictions of unicorns, were they like what we consider unicorn now, or did they have any differences?
A lot of it kind of depended dramatically on the culture. For example, like in the Chinese tradition, many of the same things that we kind of, or most of us today, kind of view the unicorn: transcendence, love, a symbol of the spirit. Yes. Other cultures, earlier cultures, sometimes things kind of, if you've ever played the game Telephone, you know how things can get lost in translation. When Vakasha and I were writing the book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn, we took very good care to try to present the unicorn story to the best of our ability. So if you go on Google or research a topic yourself, and we have an extensive list of sources in our book for you to do so if you're interested. You'll find some things that don't really coincide with the pure and positive creature that we know. Sure. But generally, yes, those are the kind of conditions and representations that the unicorn has.
Sure. And then in your book, you talk about the unicorn being present at the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. In what capacity was it present there, or do we just know that it was?
From what we know from a document called the Codex Unicornis,
yes,
the unicorn was with the first man and the first woman in this garden as basically a best friend and companion. Mm-hmm. And when, for humanity as a whole, for our evolution, for our growth, we moved down to third dimension, the unicorn was given a choice by the creator. Right? Yeah. So right now, third dimension, I don't want to sound like someone who thinks everything is all bad. There's a lot of great things here in this life that we're experiencing right now, but there's also challenges, there's also pain, and we can't deny that. The unicorn was given a choice by the creator to either to just stay in that higher dimensional reality where things are just pure bliss, or the unicorn could become the creature that it is today, this interdimensional creature where it can pop in, even though it's a far denser reality that we inhabit, a lower vibration. The unicorn can still go into that. It chose that because it's so loyal to us. I love dogs. You say dogs are man's best friend, but I think dogs might have something to the unicorn might rival dogs in that. I don't know if dogs would go into a far lower dimensional reality for us. They're loyal, but I'm not sure. It's a hard act to follow.
Okay. I just love the idea of these unicorns being multidimensional beings, and I never truly considered that possibility. What does it mean to be a multidimensional being? And forgive me if that's like a really dumb question, but I'm just thinking, how does that work?
I don't know about the specifics of it. All I can say really is that the unicorn can pop in and out of these dimensions. That's why, like, if you talk to most people and you just find someone on the street and just ask them, "Have you ever seen the unicorn?" They might give you a little bit of a look. Most people. There are some who have certainly had the encounters, but if you look at the historical record, when we were collecting the research to create the Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn, we have everyone from Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha's mother, Maya, had an encounter with the unicorn foretelling the Buddha's birth, to Emperor Fu Shi, one of the first emperors of China, who actually received the written Chinese language from the unicorn, all the way to skeptics. Leibniz, the famous mathematician and philosopher, was just as skeptical as many people are today, until he actually had an encounter in Germany with a skeleton of the unicorn that was found in the Harz Mountains. And suffice to say, he just wasn't very skeptical after that.
Oh my gosh. Well, and also you list Genghis Khan, Confucius, Alexander the Great, and more.
Yes. Many historical figures have had personal encounters with the unicorn.
That's amazing. Have you?
That's a great question. Actually, I've always been interested in the esoteric since I was a child. Like you said at the beginning of the podcast, one of my earliest memories was visiting my aunt's house and just kind of running off from the family gathering and just delving into her books about the unexplained, UFOs, ghosts, all those things. They've always fascinated me from really from birth. But at the same time, I've always, at least until working with Vakasha on the Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn, I've always sort of had one foot in and one foot out of the esoteric. And so when we first started working with Vakasha, because for the 5 years that I knew her while we were writing this book, she's always had severe medical challenges, COPD and mobility and various other medical challenges. And so because of the close nature of co-writing a book together, even though I live in Baltimore, I would have to stay with her for much of the time so that we could write and so that we can get into the flow to really create and create a wonderful book. And one of the first things that Vakasha said to me after we agreed to work with each other is some people, when they come to my house, have encounters with the unicorn. And, I didn't really know her very well at the time, but I said, okay, and I didn't really think that would happen. It must have been somewhere between a week to 10 days after going over Vakasha's house. I'm usually an early to bed type of guy, so I went to bed around 10, fell right asleep, and 3 hours later, I just woke up. I was wide awake, and I could see not the full unicorn, but I could see its multicolored spiraled horns start emerging. Just right there. It was not a dream. I didn't have too much drink or anything like that. It really was there, and I told Vakasha the next morning, and she just kind of, she's a wonderful woman, but she had a bit of a sarcastic, sense to her, and she just smiled. She had a very smug look on her face. It was kind of like, I told you so. Don't doubt me here. So it was a wonderful experience, and I knew I was on the right track, and that we were on the right track creating this book once the unicorn appeared to me.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. That's wonderful. And what a sign. It's like, yes, do this. Go ahead. Go forth. Write this book.
Absolutely. I mean, we had been so early into the process. I had just started digging through some of the research and we barely had even a paragraph done at that time, but it was definitely sort of a green light for us.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And so, and sadly, Vakasha, your co-author, had passed in May of this year, 2020. Yeah, I'm so sorry. That must have been very difficult. It sounds like you had gotten very close over this process.
Yes, I through the course of my work as a writer and entrepreneur, I've worked with a lot of people, and they all are very impactful in my life. But Vakasha was to another level. She was certainly not just a work partner. We became close friends. I would call her my best friend, and really, she became a spiritual mother to me. Her whole life was all about trying to give back to others and teach them about the spiritual realities of life. She devoted decades of her life to it, and it's kind of interesting because way back in 2009, long before I met her, I had undergone past life regression hypnosis.
Oh, I do that. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I heard. And it's a wonderful thing. I tried it, and I had a few past lives that I incarnated, but I didn't know Vakasha in any of the past lives that I incarnated. But I tried a life between lives hypnosis, and from there was an energy. I could just see us as pure energy in space, formless, definitely no body. And there was a figure who was a mentor to me, and it was an energy I'd never experienced in life, and I didn't know really what to make of it. 6 years later, I meet Vakasha, and after I really got to know her, I knew that was the mentor. So I think this project was destined because of our karmic history together.
That is so cool. That is so fascinating. Okay, so that begs the question, and maybe you've not considered this. I don't know. I don't want to stump you or anything, but it's like, why now to write this book? Why destined to do this together?
Vakasha and I may have, written this book, but I believe just as a writer that, we don't really create. It's sort of, it's looking for the channel for the message to get out. And, Vakasha and I were chosen to be the channels to kind of tell the unicorn story. But as to why now, all you really have to do is look around. For those of us, like two of us here who are in the States, you can see a long overdue reckoning about racial justice. You could see dramatic challenges with the economy. COVID-19 is still devastating many communities here throughout the nation. Even the most optimistic of us it's hard to be optimistic in these times. And it's fair to say that we live in chaotic times. The unicorn, they kind of told us, when we were creating this book 5 years ago, when we just started, that there would have to be chaos before it could reemerge. And so, while right now some of us may have encounters with the unicorn, and others can encounter the unicorn in various ways if they want to. But humanity as a whole, the unicorn is not running around like a horse, just where you can see one every day. But the unicorn, when it does fully come back, not just to individuals, everyone is going to know about it, and I believe that's coming soon. And I believe that many of the challenges that we're facing right now, including environmental challenges, if I were to have grandkids, I don't even know if they would have a planet to live out the course of their life.
Right.
So I believe the unicorn is coming back soon to all of us.
Wow, wow, wow. So have there been other time periods that were maybe similar that enabled the unicorn to reemerge?
The thing is, just in terms of history, when you go back beyond the last 50, 60 years, now we have the internet. Things are documented. Everyone's lives are documented. So if someone were to be looking for any of us 300 years from now, they could find a whole wealth of information. Certainly wasn't that way if you go back, especially the further back you go. So what we know about it, a lot of it comes from archaeology, and a lot of it comes from the lives of some of the figures who, we as cultures or spiritual traditions assign, the term greatness to an individual, like an Alexander the Great or a Fuxi. So what we know about that, it kind of varies, and I think there's probably a lot more that just is lost to history. But the unicorn certainly was with us in terms of the beginning of human civilizations, almost as much as it is today. And if one question that we don't really get into in this book because we don't have answers is how did, if you go by the traditional scientific explanation of evolution, how do we evolve to such intelligent creatures? Could the unicorn have played a part in it? Possibly. I mean, if you look at these early civilizations like the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Chinese, the Indus Valley civilizations, the unicorn is in almost all of these early civilizations and in very prominent roles. And it certainly begs the question.
Oh my gosh, that is so fascinating. I mean, you're really opening my eyes here. I had never really considered, with all the mythology and the myths of the unicorn, that all of this was possible. So some things that we believe and know about unicorns are that they will only allow virgins to, like, they will lay their head on a virgin's lap, that their horns can detect poison, some of these other qualities. Let's see what else, that they detect poison and healing and connect the third eye and the opening of the third eye. So, that's all I knew, that there was just certain magical powers, but it sounds like there's so much more than that.
Yes, absolutely. And also just some of the traditions actually just speak to one point. When you mention the story about the unicorn and the virgin, we actually have a great story here because from Crimea in Russia, a story of this woman named Katya, who was a mother, so of course not a virgin. And so when you hear about these stories about the unicorn and the virgin, it's really symbolic of spiritual purity. It's not really in terms of the traditional definition of such. And that just shows kind of just how a lot of things sometimes get misrepresented in the course of these traditions. I love the quote that classicist and poet Robert Graves had about the unicorn, which is, find the secret, because so much of the unicorn is still being uncovered. It is a really mysterious creature, and we're still learning more about it as the days go on.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And this creature has been shrouded in mystery, but it sounds like there are those who are really waking up to their potential, to their gift, and maybe there's even a full disclosure coming out. Do you think that's possible?
I think it's certainly possible. My personal belief is that when the unicorn appears, it's going to be something that no one can really deny, just because of how visible it's going to be to humanity as a whole, which we get from the Codex Unicornis. So, if you think about like certain things like extraterrestrials or unidentified flying objects, where some may believe there's cover-ups and such, you could disclose those. I think that when the unicorn fully comes back and fully reemerges, there's going to be no way that, even if people wanted to, and I don't think that they will, even if people wanted to, though, it's just not going to be able to be hidden.
Yeah, they can't deny it.
Yeah. You can't deny what you see with your own eyes.
That is astounding. Any indication of where this might be most visible?
I would say, just as a guess, that China or India would probably be the places where the unicorn might be most visible when it reemerges. And the reason why I say that is just because we found so many wonderful stories and historical evidence for unicorns and wonderful legends emanating out of those lands. So, dating back to the earliest known foundings of these civilizations. So, if I had to, if I were a betting man, I might put money there. But it's really but I do believe that when the unicorn comes back, it's going to be something not limited to a certain nation state or anything like that.
Oh, interesting. And you feel it's coming back because in part of the chaotic times that we're in.
Yes, I believe that this age, the Kali Yuga, is coming to an end, and a new golden age is reemerging. And there's a great esotericist. I hope I'm not mispronouncing the name right here, but Ontero Ally had a concept of when an old order, as the world that we know from our life, as that old order shatters, before a new order, before a new reality can really emerge, there's going to be what Ontario Ally calls chapel perilous, or just absolute chaos, where everything is confusion, might be the best way to put it.
Sure.
But until that new order comes in, until the unicorn reemerges, I don't want to sound like a doomsayer, but things might get even wilder and more challenging for us as a whole. And like we're all tested here in our individual lives. The unicorn really wants you to rise to the challenge and wants to help you rise to the challenge. So if you turn on the news and you hear terrible stories, horrible stories, of course, do your part if you can to help, but don't get lost in gloom and despair. And there's a reason for everything.
Yes, absolutely. And so you say that this is going to be undeniable when the unicorn makes its return.
Yes.
Is there anything that we can do on a personal level to work with this unicorn energy?
Absolutely.
Into our lives? Yeah.
Yes. So I would say the best thing to do if you want to work with the unicorn energy, either just to know the unicorn better, or even if you have a certain intention. If you want to, let's say you're a Reiki healer and you see firsthand how it brings people closer to equilibrium and helps heal in many ways, both on the spiritual level and the physical level, and you really want to share your gifts, even just you personally, call out to the unicorn, especially before bed, and then just listen. I mean, you may not ever visibly see the unicorn or its horn, but that's not the only way. It's not always going to just directly hit you over the head with something like that. The unicorn could be helping you through dreams, through just what I'd call like telepathic messages, just things that just come to your head that you don't know where they came from, but that could be the key to your challenge. So you're just coming with a pure intention and just asking for the unicorn's help. And you very well will have it, as long as your intentions are, not harmful to yourself or others.
Right. The highest and best intentions and the highest integrity. Yeah, always want to work with that. So, okay, well, that's good. That just gives me a lot. I think it gives all of us just even more possibilities for calling in our spiritual team, our angelic team, right?
Yes.
Having a unicorn on the staff. We may already have them on our spiritual team, but just not be aware of it.
Yes.
Bringing that awareness.
Did you know that Radiate Wellness has a subscription-based premium content Facebook group? Think of it like the premium version of this free podcast. In this premium Facebook group, you can find great content like replays of online classes, meditations on angels, chakras, mindfulness, and more, guest speakers, mini classes, polls. Plus, you'll be the first to know of guests that we have scheduled for the podcast and can submit questions for them. You get all of this great content for one low monthly price, and the first month is half off. You can subscribe by going to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/shop. Click the subscriptions button and you're in. Also, while I have your attention, wherever you're listening to this free podcast, if you could just do us a couple of favors, please. One is go to hit the subscribe or follow button. Then you'll be notified of all of the episodes we have coming out each week. Also, please rate and review. It sounds really simple, but it helps us to grow our audience when people are looking for great podcasts. And when we grow our audience, we can do bigger and better things and bring you even more great guests. So please do those couple of things, and that will help us grow this audience and this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
Your book also talks about some common misrepresentations and misunderstandings of the unicorn, both in the present and throughout history. Can you talk about some ways that we misinterpret or misunderstand it?
So one of the biggest misunderstandings that we found, actually a lot of the challenges and misunderstandings came from the unicorn in the European tradition. And one of the interesting things that, when I was new to this concept before I met Vakasha and learned about this as we were writing this book, I mostly associated the unicorn with British heraldry, which it certainly is associated with, but I didn't really know that it had any sort of presence in any of these other cultures. And not to say that there's not that everything in the European tradition is misrepresented, but some of the things there certainly are. Like when you talk about the holy hunt, which is one of the depicted in many wonderful artistic representations with the unicorn, people see that as a purely violent, attack on the unicorn, and they see it as kind of a harnessing of the unicorn's power for temporal gain. And some people actually did that in Europe. They would hunt unicorns. It became a symbol of status, of wealth, in terms of royalty. And that's not what the unicorn is about, or its horn. It's not about I have a unicorn's horn, or I experienced seeing the unicorn's horn, so I'm better than you. So there are misrepresentations like that. But when a concept's new to anyone or any group of people, it's easy for misrepresentations to occur. So I try not to be too harsh. But Vakasha and I, when we were creating the book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn, we took great care to really just eliminate some of these concepts. I mean, there's even some evidence, some information that we found that said that the unicorn was evil, which is completely not true. We didn't include that. Vakasha and I used to joke about how we hoped that after we released the Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn, that we have a separate blooper reel of just things that we found in the research which are completely untrue, just for people to get a good laugh about.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun.
They can reach out to me on Twitter. My handle's Book Card Pusher, and I could send them an early draft. If they're really curious, some of these dramatic mistakes, shall I say.
So I wonder if those dramatic mistakes come about because of fear.
That's a great question. The fear of the unknown is probably one of the biggest challenges that we have as a species. Even to take it outside of the unicorn, just like how would people react if there was contact from an alien species. Assuming that they had peaceful intentions. I mean, certainly some would welcome, but they may look different. I mean, they might not be able to communicate, in our languages here, and it leads to fear of the other. So, in the same way, when you didn't know the unicorn, or people didn't know the unicorn, it leads to misrepresentations and fear, and that's part of the unicorn, just challenging people to rise above it, to be your best self, not your lowest or your most base self.
Right. Yeah, you've got this being popping in and out of dimensions, showing only its horn, showing only this, and that can create just some confusion, etc. But just staying focused and positive, and know that this is really in the highest and best good.
Yes.
Very good. Now, the actual form of the unicorn being a white horse, being maybe have extra feathers around its feet, feathers in terms of just like fur on some breeds, and then having the white pearlescent horn.
Yes.
Why that form? What is special about that?
Well, the horn itself is just very special, just because so much of the healing, both physical and spiritual, comes directly from the horn. And from the Codex Unicornis, the horn itself is what made the unicorn a magical creature, not similar to any other animal that we'd see today. The horn itself is deeply connected to the third eye, to spiritual gifts, to helping people as a whole and individually learn about their spiritual gifts and recognize that they have them. Many people don't even know that they do. So the horn itself has the healing, both on the physical and spiritual, mental levels. Without the unicorn's horn, it really, wouldn't have those same qualities, just because the creator just imbued them through the horn.
Interesting. Well, I know I have so many questions. Why a horn? Why not a spike or a fur or something like that? But I don't know if we'd ever know the answer to that. But it's just such a beautiful, beautiful creature.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And depicted in so much art.
Yes, absolutely.
All around the world. Yeah, why do people just esteem it so much to put it in so much art?
Just from looking at the different cultures, just going all the way back to the Sumerians, the Egyptians, and others, to really till the modern era, and even today, the unicorn has just been such a positive creature, and in many cases, certainly, especially if you go a little bit further back in history, people knew about the unicorn. They used the unicorn, its horn or part of its horn, for healing. So, for example, during the Renaissance era in Europe, when you had amazing artists like Raphael creating wonderful art with the unicorn, at the same time, royalty was using the unicorn horn to prevent against poison, and it started filtering down into everyday people's lives. So the unicorn was, especially at that time, really well known and really beloved, but its presence, it wasn't known in the same sense as it's going to be known. It was more like, this is a wonderful thing that we can use for help, So if I get poisoned, or if some jealous political rival, wants to poison me, I could just use the unicorn's horn. So it was more of a kind of a tool, but a truer knowing is certainly coming, and I think that's certainly a good thing.
That is so exciting. I can't even tell you how exciting that is. I don't know if you ever read the comic strip Phoebe and Her Unicorn. I don't even know if it's in print anymore. This wonderful comic strip about a little girl who's got a unicorn as a best friend. And this unicorn embodies all of the different qualities you're talking about. It's truly magical. It's wonderful. Your book is just so interesting. I'm just looking through the table of contents right now. The unicorn in India, the unicorn in China, in East Asia, the Middle East, Persia, ancient Greece and Rome. What? Europe, Africa, North America. What? Heraldry, well, heraldry I knew about, but the arts, astronomy, and zodiac is wild. So ancient Greece and Rome too, huh?
Yeah, it all started with, and just having a surname as difficult to pronounce as mine. I should be better at pronouncing others, but there was a Greek author named Ctesias. It's Ctesias. If anyone wants to correct me after the podcast, please go ahead. But Ctesias worked worked with the Persians, who were closer to the center. One of the centers of the unicorn in India, and closer to the Assyrian and Babylonian civilizations, where the unicorn was very prominent in the art and culture. And when he returned from the Persian court back to Greece, he kind of shared it. Being an author, his words, were widely disseminated and reached throughout the culture. And from there, in the Greek and Roman cultures, the unicorn really started to be known. As Vakasha and I were writing the book, The Magical Mythical Unicorn, we had to cut a lot from the ancient Greece and Rome section because there were a lot of misrepresentations. Some individual Romans and Greeks had encounters with the unicorn. Probably the most renowned, leader of ancient Rome, Julius Caesar, actually had a personal encounter with the unicorn. The unicorn is certainly a spiritual creature, but he did not see the unicorn in a spiritual setting. Actually saw the unicorn on a military expedition in Germany in the Hercynian forest. So the unicorn is a creature of mystery. It's an interdimensional creature. So it can come when needed. I mean, even in a battlefield. So, yeah.
Oh my God. So as an omen or a harbinger of something.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Wow, kind of like Mothman shows up to be a harbinger.
Yeah, I mean, the unicorn has been a harbinger in many different situations. Like, for example, in China, with the birth before Confucius was born, and also shortly before he died, the unicorn came to him shortly before he died, and it came to his mother before he was born. And while he wasn't a political leader, in the Chinese tradition, when the unicorn, it's not there every day. You're not going to see it, on the streets of Beijing. But when a great leader is either born or about to die, the unicorn will emerge. Or when a government is really ruling with the people's best interest in mind, the unicorn will emerge. Certain emperors in Chinese history have had the unicorn emerge during their reigns, and others have had the unicorn, emerge before they were born or shortly before they died. And there's similar things in a lot of other cultural traditions.
That is fascinating. Okay, so what about North America?
Yeah, that was actually the biggest surprise because Vakasha started this book 3 decades ago. So she had a wonderful partner who was working as her researcher, a woman by the name of Artis Boyd. And Artis, she went all over the country. I mean, I still have documents of Vakasha's credit card from paying for plane tickets to go to Manly Hall and the Philosophical Research Society's personal library, getting information from the Rosicrucian Library, and also many throughout where she called home the last 4 decades, from New York Public Library and various university libraries in New York City. But yeah, so she started it 3 decades ago, and we just started. Things happened. They weren't able to create it back then, and the reason why, and what Vakasha always sort of told me, is that the reason why she and artists, and if she brought on a writer to help them, weren't able to create it in 95 was because it just wasn't the unicorn's time. I mean, if we look back, and for me, it was just getting into adolescence, but it was a simpler time, and not necessarily a better time, but a simpler one. And the unicorn was just not everywhere like it is today. It wasn't really a big part of culture at the time.
Oh, wow. So again, with North America,
Yes.
what is the connection to unicorn with North America?
Sorry, skipped out on that question. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
But yes, actually, that was the biggest surprise, because when artists had done her research, she had not found anything about North America. And so Vakasha, one of the things that I admire the most about her is just how tireless she was. And through the course of our writing the book, The Magical Mythical Unicorn, we just went through every library we could have access to, Googled every term. And surprisingly, we actually found information about the unicorn in North America. Much of it came from early British explorers to the eastern coast of the US and Canada. And when they made contact with the Native Americans, various Native American groups, they were given gifts of unicorn horn and other trinkets related to the unicorn as a gesture of goodwill between these different peoples. And that was stunning because, I knew about Europe, and there's a wealth of information about the unicorn in European, Asian, and African traditions and Middle East. But North America and the Americas as a whole, it's pretty scant. But there is definitely a presence, and that was probably one of the greatest achievements, I feel, that Vakasha and I were able to find this amazing information.
That is incredible. So the Native Americans already in North America had their own unicorn.
Yes, actually, we made contact with various groups, including some of the Native American, tribes in Florida, and we were trying to get a little bit more information, but it kind of must have slipped through time. I mean, it's been centuries since their encounter with the European explorers. But we found references to the unicorn's horn being used in spiritual and magical rituals by different Native American groups, particularly along the eastern coast of what's now the U.S. and the Maritimes and Canada. And it's just amazing to see, just because really the only place where we didn't find information about the unicorn being present was in the Pacific Islands. And if any readers or finds information, please reach out to me. Maybe we'll put it in a new edition of the book down the line. And in South America, the only thing we were able to find were cave drawings in various places in present-day Argentina. But yeah, the unicorn all over, particularly the eastern coast of North America, and really the world. It's just amazing. I was just blown away just doing this project with Vakasha and finding out just how present the unicorn's been for 6,000 years of known civilization, all different spiritual traditions, all different cultures, and almost always at least positive.
Wow. What seems to be the most recent unicorn interaction, like on a big scale? Not, your experience at Vakasha's house was wonderful, but what is the most recent, like, undeniable big interaction?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, one of the first that really comes to mind is a lot of traditions in Mediterranean Europe. For example, in Spain and Italy and in Greece, really until like around World War II, the unicorn and its horn, or representations of its horn, because by that time the unicorn's horn really wasn't widely available, but the unicorn representations of the unicorn's horn were used. In Greece, they actually made kind of a representation of a bone cross named monokeros, which is the Greek word for unicorn, and it was always to prevent the evil eye. So, if you were a Greek family or a Spanish family or an Italian family, really until, really in many people's lifetimes, until 40s or so, you would turn to the unicorn or representations of the unicorn to protect you against people wishing you harm through the evil eye. So that was one of the really more recent things. If you go a little bit further back, about 200 years ago, there were many excavations in Germany of the unicorn's skeleton. That's how it convinced even a skeptic like Leibniz to realize that his skepticism wasn't really founded. So there's been a lot, but it has kind of trickled off, and we're only starting to see the beginning of the upswing right now in the last 5 years or so, and it's going to be more and more as we move through these next few decades.
Right. Yeah. We are seeing just, kind of an aesthetic in a way, but I think these things make their way into aesthetics so that we become more used to them and more prevalent rather than coming out of the blue.
Yes.
Right. Such as the comic strip and, just depictions and cartoons and art and everything's enjoying a resurgence. It's so fascinating, but you feel that we are on the brink of welcoming this mythical animal back.
Yes, I very much believe so.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be wonderful just because, when we go to a higher vibrational reality, just think about the limitations that we all have in this life. I mean, if you were to want to be weightless or fly across the world, you need to get your plane tickets. Yeah, you couldn't just do that. All of these limitations, the denseness of this reality, we're going to a higher reality, and the freedom of such, and the sheer joy and fun of it. It's something I certainly look forward to. And, I hope it's in my lifetime, but I do believe that it's soon. I mean, I can't put a date on it. I can't say, December 21st, 2022 is going to be the day. No one really knows that. But I do believe it's coming soon, and I hope it will be in my lifetime.
Yeah, I know in the quantum healing hypnosis sessions that I conduct, that there's so many people who come in with questions about, quote, the event.
Yes.
If you've heard of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we just keep getting told it's coming. We're in the beginning stages of it. For some, it's already happened. You cannot mistake it. You will not be aware of it when it comes. And it sounds like that's what you're saying with the unicorn.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So does the unicorn have a specific part to play in this event?
That the unicorn, really true to its character, kept it a mystery. There's 3 secret sayings that the unicorn is going to say when this event happens. What they are, I don't have the clue. No one has a clue, but they will be revealed. Those 3 secret sayings when the unicorn makes its global, something that can't be denied because it's coming to everyone. You could have a personal connection with the unicorn and be working with it on the regular, or you could be someone who's completely devoid of any spiritual knowledge. You're going to hear these sayings and you're going to see the unicorn regardless of who you are, where you live, your income, your culture, your religious beliefs, any of those. We're all going to intimately know the unicorn when it reemerges.
Wow. And so these three sayings, are these ones that it has been known to say before? Is this something completely new?
I'm just not sure, because those sayings will be revealed, but they have not been revealed yet.
Right.
I may have certain ideas, but it's purely speculation. So, they're just as good as, as useless. Yeah, they kind of are. So, but I am waiting for the unicorn to reemerge, and not just to me, not just to certain individuals or to certain noteworthy figures, but just on the global level, because we all want to just ascend up the spiral. We want to be more full of life and just really just enjoy it more and enjoy a greater vibration. And so it sounds pretty wonderful to me.
That does sound pretty freaking magical.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And all tied to ascension and ascendancy.
Yes, absolutely.
That is wonderful. So again, the name of the book is The Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn by, and the name of your co-author, I want to make sure that we've got that, Vakasha.
Yep, Vakasha Brenman, and I'm used to rough pronunciations of my name. My name is Alfonso Colasuonno. Honestly, it'd probably be easier just to type The Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn on Amazon.com or Walmart.com or wherever you go to buy your books. It is available for pre-orders now. So.
Oh, excellent! When does it come out for realsies?
It's coming out on August 28th this year, so we're looking forward to it. I know Vakasha is really happy. It's just a shame she isn't here in this dimension to see it firsthand, so we can't celebrate in New York. I don't know if we could have celebrated in New York anyway with COVID, but but I know she's looking on and is really proud to see. It's our joint work, but it's really her creation, her baby, and I'm just privileged to have been a part to help her birth this wonderful book. And I know she's looking really happy at what's going on here with it.
I have to pour one out for her.
Absolutely. More than one, probably. More than
one. So I'm going to make sure that this episode comes out. Of course, we're recording toward the end of July, so I'll make sure that this comes out by August 28th for the release of the book. The Book of the Magical Mythical Unicorn. Is there a website that you would like to plug?
Yes, it's themagicalunicorn.com. If you go to it, there's a contact form. So if you want to reach out to me and ask any particular questions about the unicorn, if you purchase the book and find out that we're missing some information, we'd love to hear about new things that could help educate people about the unicorn. So if we missed anything, we feel we're very comprehensive and we view the book as an anthology. But yeah, if you want to reach out at for any reason or learn more about the book, all you have to do is just go to. I think I might have the wrong website, but it's theunicornbook.com, not themagicalunicorn.com.
Theunicornbook.com.
Yep, theunicornbook.com. If you go there, you can learn more about it. You can see our cover and reach out if you need to.
Fantastic. We'll put that website in the show notes. Thank you so much, Alfonso. This was so enlightening and fun and just exciting.
Absolutely. Christy, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you, sir.
You have a wonderful day.
You too.
Radiate Wellness is a community of holistic and alternative healers and consultants based in the Kansas City area, dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.